few minutes late, right, Don? Sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah, we're putting our heads together to make sure we had the right topic and the right outline for today's meeting. So that extra time was meant for you.
I
Today's going
love
to
that.
be
You know, you're a master at positioning what's in it for them, and that is actually really the topic of we're going to talk about today, right?
yeah, because everything is perspective, right? And there's a saying that you only tell people what you want them to know, and they only know what you tell them. And you can look at that good and bad, right? But you set the stage. It's always about timing and positioning. And, I've always been, my background actually in school was all psychology, so I was always interested on what people were thinking. And it turned out to be a pretty good education that I could use forever. And again, how you set the stage is the stage people walk into, right? And then how you follow the actors on the stage is how the play moves. And LinkedIn and sales that we're going to be focused on today is like a play, right? You've got a theme, you've got actors, you've got costumes, you've got locations, and you bring it all together, and you're the director, the writer, the producer, and probably the star of the play. Where do you want to begin with the person that's coming into it, right? And I think by breaking sales down into really relevant communications of value, I think that's an easier way to put it for people to get emotionally charged or discharged, because when they hear sales, they cringe because they don't like to be sold, they don't want to sell, and they don't really understand what quality sales is, because it's something that's gratifying, rewarding, redeeming, and builds confidence. So Mike, out of both of us, Mike is the master salesperson. You
Nah,
know, no, I've learned so much because, when he relates to how he came up, it was about doing 100 calls a day, right? It was like constant activity from the
350 calls a day, Don.
yeah, from the minute you got there to the minute you left there, it was total activity, right? On
Yes,
LinkedIn, what we
nonstop.
see is an hour worth of activity and 7 hours worth of waiting for something to happen. It's like someone baited a hook, put it in the water, and then let it go, instead of saying, hey, let's bait another hook and another hook. And for 8 hours, I'm going to keep putting stuff out there that's attractive to people I want to see.
Yeah,
And
I
and that's
think yeah. So and a lot like what you're saying is absolutely 100%. But a lot like we're working with clients that are C-suite business owners, executives at big companies. Uh, they run multiple companies, salespeople. So I think it really becomes down to one big question: well, do you want to make more sales? And if you do, then the second question is what are your current activities that are driving sales? And if you want to make more sales, then you just need to say, okay, if I continue to that activity, then obviously I'm not going to grow. Either that activity has got to get better, or I'm going to add another activity. Because you and I discussed earlier before we jumped on, like it's about action. That's the key. So we're making a very strong case for a biz dev LinkedIn, getting sales on LinkedIn. I mean, that's like on my title. It's get sales on LinkedIn. A lot of other benefits happen from doing the things that we're doing, but specifically, you and I are business guys. We're not here to make anyone LinkedIn famous. We're not here to do any song and dance or anything like that. We're here to increase people's brands so they get more sales, strategic partnerships, JVs, other opportunities. And so, what you're saying and what I'm saying is that if that's the case and you want to grow your sales, then you actively have to be doing business development, which is like a grown up word, enterprise word. I never like, in my business, it's like you get on the goddamn phone. That's
mm-hmm.
business development. So today it's fancy, biz dev. You got to do biz dev. And then today, we're not getting on the phone, we're getting in the message because it's more effective and it's soft. So the question is, do you want to do it for a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, and like you said, 8 hours? Though only you can answer that question. But if you're not even willing to step in and add anything to what you're doing, then I get in conversations that people want to grow their sales and they don't want to take any activity to grow their sales. I mean, that's like, I want to run faster, and you can run fast with bare feet and you can run faster with sneakers, but they want to run fast, but they don't want to put the sneakers on. So, although, some of those marathon guys ran it in bare feet. So, Don, yeah, I mean, why do you think people are reluctant to say, okay, I'm gonna take another half hour of my day or an hour of my day to do this? Like, what do you think's going on?
It's a million reasons, a million excuses, and they're all freely available, and most of them been time tested by the people themselves. Now, here's the key, and I was just thinking about that because whenever you talk, not only do I listen, but it starts adjusting little pieces of what I used to think. And what I realized in the old days, if you're selling, you had to be responsible for the whole process, right? You had to find the names. You had to look in directories. You had to find the numbers. You had to get access to the people. You had to do a fast introduction. And that's why he had to do so many, because of so many hangups.
You forgot the hardest part was getting through the gatekeeper.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, you needed 350 to get to 5, right? Or 3. So
Yeah.
here's the thing with LinkedIn, they took the hardest part of the sales process out. They give you the names. They give you open access to direct communication with those names. They give you unlimited communication. They give you 5, 6 different ways to communicate: commenting, posting, articles, videos, LinkedIn Live, now LinkedIn Audible, and it's all in front of you. And you know what I decided, because me and Mike always talk, don't listen to anybody telling you what to do that isn't doing it themselves and showing you the results, right? Because that just shows you if you can do what they can do, you can get what they get. It's as simple as that. So by telling people you need to do more activity, I said to myself, well, you got to take the advice you're giving others to be authentic and true. So I start doing LinkedIn Live every morning. And you know what happens if you do it every day? I've been posting every day for 1,000 days. You get so into the zone. You get so plugged in. And Sunday I did a LinkedIn Live and it went really great, big numbers. And the point is, I was probably one of the few people to do a LinkedIn Live on Sunday. That's why I got the numbers, because everybody decided it doesn't work on Sundays. When everybody tells you some doesn't work, do it, especially if it's legit, right, on LinkedIn, because there's no one else doing it. So activity means everything. And you know what happens if you do things like consistently? People follow you because they know you're going to be there that day. And if they like what they hear, they keep listening and share it with others. So the idea is getting your fans to be your advocates, pushing your content, because third-party validation means so much more than you talking about yourself, right? A friend talking to a friend about something, and you got to ask yourself, how many times you go to a movie or a restaurant, you love it, you tell 20 people, you didn't even remember who you told. It just was natural, right? What movie are you starring in, right? What meal are you preparing that you want everybody to know about? If people would bring their best you to the table and then mix it with a week of 40 hours. People used to work 60 hours for the worst bosses under the worst conditions, and their biggest fear is they'd lose their job at the end of the week, right? Yeah. Now you got a chance to be the captain of your own ship. And I think to Mike's point, we're working with C-level, really successful people. I'll tell you a secret. You could do LinkedIn right and become that CEO and real successful person. So you don't have to start there. You can move there. So anyways, just to give context, and one other thing is we started a group that's really based on everything we talk about on the show. And that's why we call it the LinkTank Mastermind Group. And we'll give you the URL. in order for you to check it out and show how we can work closer together. So, Mike, why don't you add on to that?
Yeah, well, it was this book. I don't know if it's backwards or not, or you can see it. It's James W. Pickens. And he sold over 1 million copies sold worldwide. The Art of Closing Any Deal: How to be a master closer in everything you do. So I was saying that I picked this up. It was in a box because we moved, and I was looking at it. I don't remember reading it. I would actually have to have a good memory because this book was published in the first time in 1989. 1990. It's what are we? 20, 30 years old. 1 million copies 30 years ago is pretty good. So I was just kind of flipping through this, and we were talking about this. That the strategies laid out here were for an environment that was radically different, like we spoke about earlier. Cold calling and selling, and this I was just looking at. It's the top 20 closes, and it's the negative close, and it's how a negative close is used. Now he talks about being on a sales call with a know-it-all, and how you reverse the know-it-all is basically sort of counteract that. Well, basically, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, our solution isn't right for everyone. In fact, as we go through the process, we actually have to make a determination if you qualify even to become a client of ours. So you have all these tricks. They use that one on the internet now, like for digital marketing, because they say you must apply to see if you can qualify. Like if you go to um, Digital Marketer, which is one of my former clients, they have Digital Marketer Labs. There's like 40,000 people there, but their entry in is you got to fill an application to see if you apply to see if you qualify. So they're still taking stuff from 100 years ago, Zig Ziglar stuff. It still gets incorporated into today, but it's different. And the one big thing that we wanted to share with everyone today comes from Gary Vaynerchuk, who we frequently talk about. And I saw one of his videos, and he was talking about sales and how he grew so rapidly. And he said it started to happen when he realized that he's only going to be selling and enrolling new customers that want to work with him, which seems odd at first, right? Because as a salesperson, you want to every sales opportunity, sales stages, and all these prospects and close one and close two. You want to get them all. And he said it wasn't until he realized he didn't want them all. He only wanted the people that wanted to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And once he started focusing on the people that wanted to work with him, he still added value to other people, but he just started finding more and more people that wanted to work with him. And what hit me when he said that was like, we have the platform to become a thought leader, a leader, to teach and add value and give our lead magnets and our ebooks and our documents away for free to do what was impossible before, which is sort of bridge that unknown to known, because the only way you could do it was get on the phone and sell yourself. Now you just add value. They're finding you. You're doing LinkedIn Lives. Now it's 100 or 200 every single time. It's 300. It'll be 500. They're finding you. LinkedIn's job is to help people find the right people. They're doing the work. And so what struck me was that, and this is something that I incorporated, about a year ago in my pricing, is provide value, do a consultative sale, show them a few things they can do, ask them if they want to grow. Do they see how you can help them grow? And do you want to do it? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and what I do is, of course, I don't, some people try to get people to say yes on the phone, which is fine. I understand why, because if they disappear, they get busy. My sale is not like that because it's expensive. So I structure the contract in such a way that I provide what I call a fast action incentive, and it's outrageous. So we go from a setup fee of $24.97. I usually do it at $997. So I'm taking away $1,500. But
Mhm.
the contract is with a great company, which I love, PandaDoc. I've been with them for a long time. Great people, great company. And it's a 3-day timer. And I tell the people that, look, when you start working with me, you might even incorporate this sales strategy yourself. And it's based on abundance. So now I just, when you are vibrating at a certain frequency, things find you. So I just heard Gary's thing and it makes so much sense. And it's really the same thing. There's millions of customers for everyone on LinkedIn. Even the people that are giving me like, oh, I got a small market. You don't have a small market. Where if you just know how to do the research, there's millions of people. There's going to be 1 billion people on LinkedIn, business people. So it's about being able to cultivate relationships with the unknown, right? Then get people into your fold, start a conversation, provide value, and say, hey, do you think I can help you? If yes, look, here's the deal. I'm going to give you an outrageous incentive. Use the 3-day window. I'm not disappearing, but I'm not calling you again. And if you
Mhm.
want to call me and say, hey, I got some questions, I'm all up. I'll spend multiple hours between now and the 3 days are up, but I'm not calling you. And if
Mhm.
it's right, you know what to do. And if it's not, it's no now. You can buy it at retail whenever you want. We're going to be here. So I, people get freaked out about sales, but it's like the unsale.
Yeah, I think what you're really touching on is evolved sales that have taken place with other evolution, right? And technology. I mean, the book you showed, the guy didn't have the benefit of doing LinkedIn Live and doing videos. And you know what I'm finding more about LinkedIn? It's about your brand, not about your business, because your brand is your business. And the more you share who you are, the more people get to know you. I mean, that's the key. So, if someone in traditional world would say NBC will give you a free commercial every hour if you can get it to us, right? And you would say, hell yeah, right? Here's, a Ford or GM would say, yeah, we got plenty of commercials. LinkedIn says to you, you're the master of your own business. You own 100% of your own LinkedIn, right? What would you like to say to our 810 million people? You look at their background. They posted 6 months ago or 2 months ago about a flower show they went to, right? And it really takes away from them. Where if you say, yeah, if what I decided when I decided to do this daily LinkedIn Live, is I'm only putting 10, 11 minutes into it. I have no preparation except promoting it 15 minutes before it goes and telling people what it is, right? Today's topic. So at least, you got some interested parties, and there's no homework after. So for 11 minutes, I say to myself, what was I going to do in this hour that was worth 11 minutes that I can get 250 people to learn how I feel about something, how I think
Yeah.
about
What
something.
about this quote, Don?
What's that?
That
Yeah,
quote.
yeah, that's
That's your
exactly.
quote.
The more you think you failed, the more feedback you get. So either you win because you finally figured it out. And you know what people love? And I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, actually, Paul in our group, and he was mentioning, and I mentioned that, the people you really respect are the people to get to practice an hour early before everybody and stay an hour late. Right. And he mentioned a Kobe Bryant story when someone asked Kobe, how come you don't pass the ball? He says, because I only give the ball to people who work as hard as I do. Right. And until I see people doing it, I'm keeping the ball. And I think that applies to whatever you do. Is if your why is big enough, you'll figure out the how to. Right. And you got to determine how bad do you want to change. Right. And Mike's right. I only want to work with the people who want to work with me and who want to work. Right. Because I can only work with so many. Here's what the key is. I want my success rate to be through the roof. Right. If I take entry money and they never finish, it hurts me because I couldn't help them. There were other people I could have helped that I didn't. And the people I am helping are getting affected by the people I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? So keep it pure.
Yeah.
Is really
Yeah.
key.
And the I forget the name of. I'll remember the name of the quote, but I was on a couple calls with a very big accounting organization that's on fire, and they're doing their presence on LinkedIn is just terrible, which is like most people, and they're crushing on Facebook. They're spending a lot of money. They get 800 leads a week. So I went through this whole thing, and they have a big celebrity that's associated with them. I'm like, yeah, you guys should start with two of your directors and show it's you have a lot, like you're doing all the right activities in a different platform. You're paying for it, like you can make a big a big dent in LinkedIn and really stake your position. I said, but there's no way. Like, you need to look at this differently. You're not getting 800 leads. It's not like a lead machine. You're not buying advertising, sending to a landing page, automated the whole funnel, all this other stuff. But I did say that for your higher end consulting stuff, you'll be able to probably land a bunch of opportunities. But the strategic partnerships, the speaking of at big organization and events will really open up. And so then they ended up coming back and they were like, no, not really. And so I was disappointed because it would have been a good name. But then my wife's like, why don't you call him? And I said, I'm not going to call him because if I couldn't convince them of the how the methodology works and the hour and change that I took, plus I get a 45-minute training that goes through everything, then how am I ever going to convince them? They're not open, or either they think it's dead wrong strategy, their clients are at LinkedIn, or they don't get it. And like, if I bring them in, like you said, could I get them? Yeah, I could call them up and just sell the shit out of them and get them. I can make them some fancy deal where don't pay me anything, and then after you get your first sale, I get 50% of this. I could do a million things, but it's not worth it because I didn't get buy-in from the beginning. And I think that's what Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about, is that if you have a process and a system and a methodology or a technology that works, and this is how it works, and it's a systemized approach, and people aren't getting it, but they want the results, but they don't want to fall into the process and the system, the methodology, then it's a waste. A bad client's worse than no client. And not
Mm-hmm.
that it would be bad, but just a client that won't take action is worse than no client for the reasons that you said. You know,
Yeah,
um,
well, I think one of the key elements that you touch on is people have to be teachable, right? If you get big shots come in that know it all, don't want or pick and choose and then adjust, and waver, then you're out of the program by self-definition. And I think the key is there's some reward financially to helping people, but there's a lot of reward and gratification by seeing people do better, achieve their goals. People like elevator buttons, they say. Some take you up and some take you down. And the question is, who do you want to be with? Everything ripples. So, I think
nice.
it's really important. Life is valuable. It's important. Your life can be bigger, better than you ever thought of if people are willing to do one thing, and that's make a change, right? And by making that change, you can always go back, right? So wherever you've done, whatever you are, you can still be tomorrow. But are you happy? I think that's really what people have to decide. Am I satisfied? Am I comfortable? If you are, you're probably in a better shape than most people. If you're not, we're offering something that is so incredible. It's $47 a month. I won't go into a lot of detail. The URL is there, but it's a no lose upside potential opportunity to really do what Mike said, is to work with us, to team with us, right? To join forces and learn. There's so much stuff, so much nuance, and so many facets to LinkedIn. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and I point out 3 things in 40 seconds he didn't know was available. And this is someone who's pretty sophisticated. So if you just had tips, and if you said, if I spent $500 a year, I had 52 weeks of an hour each of Mike and Don for interactive support, right? I had access to a $12,000 library portal of great training and learning as part of it. And I had the networking capabilities of a built-in collaboration group. What you have to say is not, is this good or bad? Is how's it compared to the next best thing, right? What is the next best thing to this? And that's how I've always sold. I always said, here's a $10 bill you're holding. Here's a $20 bill I got. Would you like to make a move? You know, and it's easy because once you get
Yeah.
people in the habit of trusting you, doing stuff with you, the door opens. And I think that's how you get into relationship selling. And that's what we're talking about is really being who you are. You can't sell who you're not. And Mike's right. If you got to sell people to bring them in, you got to sell people to keep them in. And it's way too much sales for it.
That
So,
is so, yes, that is, that's so right. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking about all the clients that we've had, and I go back to this that if you want to understand how powerful LinkedIn is, everyone's ideal lead is a referral, right? Arguably, the number one lead you can have is a referral. And to me, I know this for a fact. My number one lead, a referral is my number two lead. My number one lead is someone that's been following me on LinkedIn that then creates an inbound inquiry, books an appointment. Then after they book the appointment, they watch my 45-minute video. And when we get on the Zoom session, they're like, Mike, I've been watching your stuff. It's great. I get a basic understanding. I just have a few more questions in detail. I'd love to get started.
mhm.
How can somebody say that to you? Because they established the fact that they know, like, and trust you, know, like, and trust you. They've been indoctrinated with your methodology. And the last one's a really big one, and they believe they can do it themselves. Because if someone's like, oh, that's great, but I can never do that, they're never going to buy. Those are key points. So that is, to me, the best. We just had a client close a $130,000 deal like that. Now, why is the treasured referral my second best lead? Because they have one of those five. Actually, they might even be down at the third rung. They trust me. Oh, I can't do that. I better do that. they tr- they trust me because their friend said, "Oh, Mike's crushing it." They don't know me. They definitely don't like me. They might like me. They have not been indoctrinated. They don't know what the hell I do. And they have no idea if they can even do it themselves. You see how that works? So when I get on a referral, I'm literally like, I'm happy. It is easier than the next rung down, which is completely cold, but it's such a pain in the ass. I got to start
Mhm.
virtually from zero every time. Um, so it's really a testament to what we have, the opportunity we have on LinkedIn to be able to create the content, get into the nothing. It's not what you get; it's what you give. Create basically the LinkedIn funnel, which you and I have been covering, throughout the last 3 months. And the bottom line is that if you've got a better way, tell Don and I. We're open. Um, if you got something that's similar to what we're doing on LinkedIn on the platform, let us know. We're open. Um, and the idea of shortcutting everything is what Don was talking about earlier about if you think this makes sense, then either you can try to figure it out yourself, which you can do. Absolutely. Don and I did it. I did it 3 some odd years ago. Don did it a couple of years ago. Or you can say, screw that. For $47 a month, I'll be in the group. Our next one is tomorrow. At what time, Don? Our meeting?
As at 3 p.m. Eastern.
3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We're on for an hour. And then we just go into this. We go into how to do this stuff and join us. It's a
Yeah.
30-day money back guarantee. If you come on tomorrow, click the link, pay your $47, and then after tomorrow's meeting, if you think it sucks, then tell us it sucks, and we'll give you your money back. Don't come back.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I think that that's more than fair. I think, what I want to point out that's so valuable to what you shared, and it covers a lot of things we've talked about in the past, is your number one uh, value, let's say, connection is somebody that's reached out to you after following you, after learning about you, right? They did their own research. So wouldn't that make sense that if you were the person reaching out just like them, you would be a premium candidate for collaboration with whoever you reached out to, which really confirms what we talked about outbound marketing, right? Being proactive, picking, targeting so many people, and doing what impresses you to someone else who should be impressed by that same activity. So, what we're really saying is optimizing your activity skills, really, to make them more relevant, to make them more targeted, to make them more conversion oriented, set the stage. You know, if you want to write your own play, produce your own play from scratch, and figure out how that works, it's a lifelong pursuit. And maybe it'll be gratifying when you're about 85 years old, right? And you get there. But if you just say, hey, let me copy or follow what people are doing, and then the benefit is you have to optimize it because you bring you to it, right? Instead of bringing somebody else to you and picking and choosing, take exactly what the platform me and Mike provide in this show and in our group and dive in, but don't change it. You know, add your flavor to it, but keep it where it is, because then we can continue to ramp up together, right? If you start building a stairway somewhere else and we're going straight, you know, it makes it difficult. So
Yeah.
it's really about taking inventory. And maybe, you know, to everybody's benefit, if you didn't know any better, you can't do any better. The fear is me and Mike are opening doors and windows and showing you lands of milk and honey. And now you got to go back to wherever you came from. And now you know there's something better. So, you know, another thing we like to do, and I think it's important in life, is have fun, right? We're not sitting here crying over spilled milk. We're not talking about the things that didn't work, and plenty don't. But, you know, I always had the opinion of either you learn or you earn. You never lose until you quit, because then you're forced to add up the score, right? And what we said on the thing is there is no failure, only feedback. And if you learn from it, adjust from it, you have to thank everything that got you where you are today, right? Because without that, you wouldn't be who you are today. And the question then becomes, who do you want to be tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And we have to answer that question too, right? This
Yeah.
is our legacy. This is our future, what we're investing in. And we'd love to do it with more people because it's lonely at the top when you win.
Did I get this one right?
If
Did I get that one right?
you don't any better, that's exactly right. You know,
Nice.
and most things are simplistic. If you even look at some of our strategies, it's the flip of what works here, the opposite works there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
just common sense. And
Yeah.
I think that sometimes all you need is a word or a saying of motivation or inspiration, you know, to put it in perspective. And, you know, other thing about losing, never feel so bad if you're with a gang, right? If you're with a group and you can commiserate. But if you're by yourself in a lonely room, it's hard, you know,
Yeah.
and there's nothing like winning and celebrating each other. So, you know, add that to the value added benefits to the program.
Right. Well, Don, I'm going to put the link back up there so people can see this. And want to thank everyone for showing up live. The replays are growing. It's 3 months in, Don and I think we're getting consistently 300 to 400 each on each episode of LinkTank. So that's, call it 750 per episode views times two for the week. That's 1,500 people, whether they're seeing us for 3 seconds, 3 minutes, or the full 23 minutes a week. So you never do math on stage, but 1,500 times two is 3,000 times another two for 4 weeks. That's 6,000 people. Done. That's if I go to Madison Square Garden, it holds 18,000. So we have the entire bottom of the stadium. That's 1/3 of Madison Square Garden every month hanging out with us on LinkedIn. How does it get any better than that?
Well, it gets better because in a year it's 4 Madison Square Gardens at 72,000 if you take 12 if you take 6,000 times 12. So if you do something just twice a week, right? For a year, it's 72,000 exposures. Now, if you take the 72,000 and say, what do I have to convert? And let's say they're not all unique users. Hopefully they're not, right? If you got 1% of 72,000, right? That would be about 720, right?
Yes.
That's about 14 a week once you get humming. And I think the key is to put all the pipes together that when you promote something, you also can get people into the something. It's not conceptual. It's like
Yes.
see it, become a member of it. So I think those are really important things. And then again, everything you do, if you post every day or 5 days a week, and you get 4,000 views, right? That's 20,000 a week. That's 1,000,000 views. What's your conversion from that? If you do a LinkedIn Live every day and you get 150 views, that's 50,000. Now, these are all independent of each other, right? You don't decide, do I do a post or a video? You do the post and the video
Yeah.
and the other thing. And here's the thing. If you don't like the results, get on the phone and start talking. Could you ever see a salesman in the old days leave his house with an encyclopedia at 8 a.m., knock on 3 doors, and go home at 9:15 a.m.? That person would be working till the lights went out. And they'd be going back and doing it again, and people did it, and they made a living doing it. Now, if
Yeah.
you
I
want
mean,
to do the
that's
same thing on selling yourself, promoting yourself, get on the stage. And if you're afraid and you don't know how, get with us because we're not afraid and we are on the stage. So, anyways, I want to thank everybody for viewing. We get better with your help, you know,
feedback and comments. And yeah,
and join us, be part of our group.
yep. I'm excited for our group and everyone out there. Thank you, LinkedIn, for the opportunity. Thank you, Gary V. Gary V in the house. Somebody can pass this over
Well,
to
one
Gary
day
V.
Gary V will be on our show.
He will be on our show. I heard Gary V do a Q&A in the very meeting that basically kind of turned my career into the LinkedIn direction. And yeah, now we crossed over 250 million views that we've created for the customers. But he sat in that room during the Q&A, and some young guy stood up and said, Gary, I just started a podcast. I've done 5 episodes. Would you be on my podcast? Great question. 25-year-old guy. He goes, I will absolutely be on your podcast. I'll be on podcast number 101. You hold me to it. So it didn't make much sense to me at the time because I don't do a podcast. But now it makes a lot of sense to me because 101, if you're doing one podcast a week, which most people are doing, that's 2 years. You still got it going on in 2 years. You call me up and I'll be on it. So it was very clever what he said because we reward someone for being in the game and staying in the game. So anyway, with that, we'll say goodbye. We're over our 20
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, we shouldn't even say 20 anymore.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, thank everybody. If you want to be part of our group tomorrow, comment, send us a message, and
Yes.
we'll more than happily send you a guest pass or at least an opportunity to get to know the program. So thank you again.
Awesome. Have a great